Good early morning, Bitcoiners in America, and top of the day in the afternoon or midday, I guess, for those across the pond over on Greenwich Mean Time. I have Rick Messitt with me. Really happy to have a longtime Bitcoiner. He's been called the luckiest man in Bitcoin, having navigated his way through many potential pitfalls along challenging early years of Bitcoin, taking self-custody, avoiding the collapses of exchange, not getting shaken by the bears. He's also possibly the most resilient Bitcoiner out there with a pivotal backstory that launched him into the public eye, from which he has stood up, stepped forward, continuing to push forward as a builder. As we're going to find out, he's building and growing and doing many new things in his life. Having worked for the Bitcoin Way for a while, Chief Marketing Officer and other work for social media and marketing. He is now at the Bitcoin Way, their Chief Strategy Officer, which is amazing to hear about. He's been a featured speaker at Bitcoin Prague, Bitcoin Balkans, the Scottish Bitcoin Conference, Be the Change, Bitfest in Manchester. There may be more. I want to hear about that. And slated, I think correctly, slated to speak at BTC Helsinki this year. I saw that. So he's worked with the top brands in marketing and online presence, and is now also Chief Propagandist at the Base Department. What is that? We're going to find out. They provide Bitcoin marketing campaigning. I'm also so excited to hear about other new chapters in his life, things that are the most exciting things you can do in life. It's going to be really fun to hear about. Rick, I won't belabor this. I really appreciate you joining me. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, man. Yeah, listen, wow, I've got like a bit of a red face. That's quite an introduction there, man. But
it's been an adventure.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Yeah, yeah, I've been in Bitcoin for a long time, and wow, it's been a crazy ride, man. I'm sure
all the roller coaster, yeah.
Oh, like we've all seen that meme, right, where it says what you think it's like to hodl, and it's a flat line, and then the other picture where it's just like absolute chaos. Well,
yeah. Oh, yeah, you got lucky. And you're like, yeah, I got lucky.
That's it. So, you know, my story has been tumultuous, as I'm sure a lot of people who've been here a long while. And I tend to have a habit of learning all my mistakes the hard way. But then I do my best to try and share those mistakes with others so that they can skip some of the potholes.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, to say Bitcoin is an obsession that's all I'm interested in now. It's all I spend all my time on. And yeah, I just love it, man. I love the people, love the community, love everything about it.
Bitcoiners are amazing. You can speak to that in your story as you've experienced very directly and wildly. I do want to start real quickly, as you're willing to reveal, you have a new and growing family. I might call it a chapter 3 in the big turning of chapters, pages of chapters. You've had a chance to be at home for a little bit and enjoy family. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So recently welcomed my first daughter with my wife, and just, oh man,
it's awesome.
Yeah. Like, you know, out of all the things, like I love Bitcoin, but I love my family more, right? Like there are things that are more like Bitcoin is money and it's important, but you know, money isn't everything. So yeah, that's a really special thing to embark on. And you know, it's a weird thing to mention, but you know, on a fiat standard, I think I'd be a bit more terrified about what the future holds, and like how can I be a good dad? How could I provide for my family? But
a lot of people are, yeah.
This is it. But having Bitcoin actually, you know, it removes some of that fear, and you can feel quite positive. And man, I meet Bitcoiners everywhere that are reproducing like rabbits, right?
I've seen that.
I think I genuinely believe it's because, you know, Bitcoin enables them to have a more positive disposition and a view of the future that could be brighter and better. So yeah, you know, I can bring kids into this world instead of all this, you know, the black pill and the doom and you know, I mean, there's a fair amount of propaganda for a few years, right, about you shouldn't be procreating and there's too many people.
You know, I feel for that years ago. Some of the black pill stuff, and I didn't want to like create any more impact than I had to as like a bad human being, let alone like a white one. And we can get into all that stuff, but I kind of got over that. Bitcoin actually helped me say, you know what? Like, it's a big world. There's a lot of people. I got to do me, because I'm not going to like toss my drop of the ocean into the sewer. I'm going to try to be part of the flow. And so, anyway, go ahead though.
Yeah. So, man, I mean, there's not a lot else to tell apart from, yeah, it's funny how also your motivations change. I'm still really passionate about working on Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff. But if anything, it makes you work harder because it's not just about, yes, I want to earn money to look after my family like everybody else does. But actually, I really want my kids to walk into a better future where the game is fair. We live in unfair world at the moment, and look, we don't need to belabor it. All the Bitcoiners already know why, and the fiat money printing machine. But wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if we could move on to a Bitcoin standard? So anything we can do to make that a reality. As crazy as and ambitious as that is, if everybody contributes, then how we can get there, right?
You've got fans. They love your Messitt energy. Loving Messitt here. When you have that time. So when you're well, one thing, when you're single and your time is all yours, and you can just push and do and grow, and it can feel great, and you can be busy and completely like singular focused, and then you integrate a spouse or that commitment like you've done where will you still marry me? And you get married and you kind of settle down, and now you're balancing and integrating into your life more than say just mom and dad or yourself. And then now when you have a kid, you're balancing a lot, and you start. I mean, I did as a young parent, the first time many years ago. There were times where it kind of grew me up, but I was forced to stop and slow down. And I had plans and ideas on my mind, but I'm like, I am simply here now. I got nothing to do, or like, and I need to be present, and and for mommy as well. And you're tired, and maybe you're deliberately taking time to be home and really do that. And so sometimes you don't get a chance, or you go on vacation, but you're still kind of like, doing the things. And with a baby and you're at home, you slow down, you stop, you're taking it in, and you're like starting to feel such big life changes. I can only imagine that with all that perspective, as you take a little time with that you reflect back on the same stories, the same journey, everything again, but like from a new lens, and go, wow, like what a ride. Or you must be just so I don't know, it must feel good. I can imagine. I miss some of those times of having a baby in a way.
Man, I mean, listen, yeah, what a crazy adventure. I mean, she's already doing so much for me, right? So anyone who does follow me on Twitter or whatever probably has noticed that I don't post very much anymore. And all I can say is that like when you have this, when my beautiful daughter's in the house, I'm sorry to say she's way more interesting than anyone on Twitter, right?
Yeah, right.
And I love the community. I love all the Bitcoiners. I love all of the chat and that sort of stuff. But there's just nothing better. There's no better way to put your phone away than when this little kid is giggling in your face. It just melts me. And
oh, it's amazing.
The whole thing was quite visceral. I mean, as you know, like the last couple of years, just bonkers, absolutely bonkers. We're getting close to 3 years now since I got hacked, right? And that whole story in El Salvador. Mate, just crazy. Like after she was born, like I don't mind sharing this and admitting this. Like I was completely broken. Like I was stood in the shower, right? You've been 2 or 3 days in labor. I stood in the shower, and just all of it just came out of me, man. Like when I got hacked, as you know, I was due to get married only a couple months later, and I got completely wiped out. And I'm thinking, God, is this going to ruin this potential marriage? You see or feel your whole life sort of evaporate in your hand. It's a really weird experience. So to sort of almost 3 years later be like, wow, I have a beautiful wife, I have this beautiful baby, I work with the Bitcoin companies and in the community, and everything that happened, it was just like, it's really hard to explain like what a life change in sort of 2 or 3 years, but weirdly I wouldn't change any of it now.
Yeah. And at one level, you've told that story so many times, and I don't want to belabor it. I assume most audience have heard of it, And if they haven't, it certainly is such a pivotal part of your story that it's like when one big door slams on you and it feels like everything is over. And there are people in this world. I mean, I had not heard of you before you started tweeting on that, and it was getting shared and went viral. And I myself was like, "Who's this guy? What is this story? Like, this can't be real." What? But how, so, and then naturally, as you think about the tech, and you're like, "How did that happen? Is this a boating accident?" And all the things, and then you started courageously, I might add, putting yourself out there, being out there. A lot of people might have crawled up and just kind of like hidden and been like, oh God, I don't know, covered up. You feel so like all these things. You put yourself out there, took the L, and were like, here I am. Leading up to that speech you gave in Prague, I will just say, I wish I could have been there in person. Our buddy Daniel was there. That's where he first saw you and was like, wow, this guy is awesome. Your speech was delivered so well. The content was so clear, and the thread was just like, it was a package of like, oh, like from first person perspective, like what a story. And here's the why. Here's the why, the outcome, and all the things. And connecting with the Bitcoin Way, by the way, which is an awesome group. Anyway, all that hit me, and I realized, man, how would I have handled that? I don't know if I could have done it so well. I would have been kind of lost. You have such a good relationship with your dad. I was just going to throw this up here real quick. Your dad sounds like an amazing guy. And that could have also been very hard in that regard with family and relationships and moving forward and holding on to negative stuff. You have pierced through resiliently. I mean, again and again and again. And so, how's your dad nowadays? To the extent you want to share, but with the baby, and now you just shuttle the baby around and present the baby. And so he gets to be granddad, right?
Yeah. Oh man, my dad's great, honestly. Like he genuinely is my hero. I mean, he was the one that orange pilled me.
Yeah.
So my dad's a software engineer and has been since the days of like IBM 360 assembler and punch cards. He kind of understands computing on a really deep level, right? I often say he thinks in ones and zeros. And look, before Bitcoin came along, he already hated central banking. He already understood the scam. He was, I wouldn't say a gold bug, but he knew to put his money in assets. And he would explain to me when I was younger the problem. So when Bitcoin came along, right, it was such a natural fit for him, right? He understands the code, he can read the code, and he also understands the problem. So because you meet a lot of technical people actually that sometimes struggle with Bitcoin, because to understand a solution, you do really have to understand the problem, or you struggle to make sense of it. So that came to us quite quickly. And then 2014, I think even late 2013 was when we were first buying Bitcoin. It's like 30-40 bucks, man. It was just, it's weird to think back to that time. I mean, at certain points we would have had hundreds of coins between us, right? I don't even really remember. And they were kind of not worthless, right? But you didn't think much of, like, a whole Bitcoin didn't really mean too much.
It was still pretty speculative. It was like, I'm not sure where this is going to go.
Totally crazy. And as much as we loved it and understood the code, I think what people fail to appreciate back then is how much more speculative it was. Like, imagine that. It's still this crazy idea, we're going to completely displace the banking system with these, it still sounded crazy. It sounds a lot less crazy now.
Right.
But back then, so we enjoyed it. We saw it as like a hobby, like a project. It was fun and interesting. But then famously, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know the story, we hodled that Bitcoin for 10 years. By the end of it, we were still holding on to like 25 coins. Very nice. We were lucky that we didn't get wiped out in exchange hacks. We never leverage traded it and gambled it away. So we got 90% of it right. Unfortunately, the 10% that we got wrong cost us all of the Bitcoin. So we were smart enough. We knew that we had to take self-custody, right? But back then, you didn't have like hardware wallets. You didn't have steel plates and all this sort of stuff. Not to make excuses, but just to sort of give the context.
Yeah, it was a different time. I mean, even thinking about it hard, you can't come up with everything on your own, and you don't realize the depth of the base protections you might take with it. You know, you don't know. You're doing your best.
Well, this is it. And, you know, so my dad's a software engineer, so he knows, you know, he knows well enough. Well, first of all, we used an open source keyword or password manager, right? Now that sounds terrible, but I should be clear, it wasn't like LastPass or some centralized service. It's fully, you know, self-hosted, open source password manager. But of course, you know, my dad's a software engineer. He knows well enough that you have to back things up. If you've just got this file on one PC and that PC breaks or you pour coffee on it, that's a problem. So, you know, he backed this up. Now, here's the mistake. He got backed up to the cloud. And I'll never know exactly what happened, but our feeling was, or we worked quite a lot with police and all sorts, which I won't go into, but we're fairly confident that we know our details were circulating on the dark web, which is a bit scary because we bought our Bitcoin on Mt. Gox way back when, before it blew up. And the hackers didn't just take the coins, they also took all the KYC data with them. I tell you what's terrifying is, you know, they knew my name, my dad's name, my address, his home address. They knew how much Bitcoin we'd bought and sold. They also could see, you know, the wallets addresses that we'd sent it to when we took self-custody. So
they could have knocked on your door.
Oh, man. Well, on my dad's door as well, you know, and I wouldn't be there. Like, my dad's 70 now, you know, you really, it's the scariest thing to think about, you know, in some ways quite happy that we were hacked. But long story short, I'm fairly sure that we were targeted by someone relatively sophisticated who managed to break into our cloud storage and then the encrypted KeyPass file that had the seed in. The biggest cock up that we made, and, you know, I'll hold my hands up, is the passwords were crap, right? The password to the live stream.
Hackable,
yeah, just not good enough. Would have been brute force, trivially, right? Like really, really silly. So yeah, man, that hits you like a ton of bricks. I can't explain. You held it for 10 years, right? Like all these, you know, all these bull markets, bear markets, and the beating you take on that journey. And then to fly to El Salvador is sort of like a celebratory trip, and that's where we found out it was all gone, and I'm miles away from home. Yeah, that was like a Netflix special I was living through, man. It was something else.
You know, to be honest, this in the future, when I mean, well, even right now, it would make a really good script. It's a great drama story. It really would be a movie. Seriously. I mean, someday it could be. I don't know, but
possibly.
Anyway.
But I mean, you know, you mentioned the resilience thing, and like, you know, man, like, well, I'll tell you one thing it did do is it completely destroyed my ego altogether. So what you might notice about me is I'm quite happy to look stupid or foolish in public. I don't really care. You have to learn from your mistakes. And, you know, I'd love to pretend that, you know, yeah, I'm David Goggins and yeah, I live in the pain, right? And we could go in this whole like Andrew Tate direction about like, you got to toughen up, kids, and right.
Yeah.
Screw all of that nonsense, right? The reality is I found myself in a situation where I had two choices, right? And it becomes really logical. One, I roll over and die and feel sorry for myself for the next 6 to 12 months. And, you know, I was quite aware if I go down that path, you know, I'm going to take my wife with me. I'm going to take my dad with me. If I fall into a pit of despair here and start screwing up my life and making bad choices, you know, drink, drugs, whatever, I'm going to take out all the people I love with me, and it's going to ruin their lives as well. And, you know, my dad, I'm sure, would feel a certain sense of responsibility. So I have to stand, I have to get on my feet. I have to do it for everyone else. So that's sort of where it starts. And then, you know, absolute kudos to the Bitcoin community. I mean, listen, I got pasted, and quite rightly, by a whole load of people.
People will flame you. I've seen people go through hard things, and the schadenfreude is right there. People are like, oh, you did all this. Like you, well, the worst things you could say. It's just easy to troll. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honest. Listen, you know, I'm British, right? So we're quite famous for having like a self-deprecating sense of humor. And trust me, none of these guys would be able to take the piss out of me as eloquently as I can, right? So listen, I'll own my mistakes. And if some guy comes along and says, you're a moron or whatever, I'll be like, well, yeah, pretty much. Like, that was a really bad thing.
Serves you right, idiot.
listen, while you're busy worrying about what I'm doing, I'm on the next thing. I'm on the next thing. You know, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've that really helps, right? Like, I'm quite comfortable being uncomfortable because I've started businesses, I've succeeded, I've failed, so I'm not going to say this was the biggest one like this. I'd rather not repeat this learning experience.
And you won't now. And it wasn't the kind of thing where, it was just one mistake or a couple of mistakes after each other. You were targeted, and KYC being like kill your customer. The combination of that Mt. Gox hack, getting your data, gave that particular access to give them enough info to target you specifically and utilize info to affect that hack. They probably could not have done it. I'll just say they probably couldn't have done it if they didn't also have the KYC data and that lead and then some info to utilize to then work it. So
yeah, there's two elements to that. You know, KYC is kill your customer. And look, you know, I live in the real world. I understand if you're trying to put a large amount of money in, it's very difficult to go, you know, or painful to go through that process of doing it non-KYC. But I really do believe, like, if you're not building at least some non-KYC stack of Bitcoin in 2026, you're probably not paying enough attention to, I mean, how crazy the world is. You should absolutely have a backup plan. You know, had our self-custody been solid enough, then we'd still be okay. But, you know, I have to accept now that those details are circulating around the internet. You know, I'm on podcasts and live streams, right? My OPSEC is dead by now already. Like, but people really don't think enough about that. I see people on Twitter all the time, like, sharing what they've bought, like screenshots of them, and I'm like,
yeah, I know.
It gives me the willies, right? Because I'm like, having been through the hack and stuff, I'm just like, guys, you don't understand. There's people very motivated and often very talented people who are working very, very hard and diligently to find out who you are, learn all about you, and finesse you out of your Bitcoin. Now, look, don't get me wrong, you might have a great setup with a hardware wallet, you know, your steel plates, multi-sig, whatever. But why just don't, there's no benefit to drawing attention to yourself. All right, you get a few likes, you get a bit more clout on Twitter, whatever. It's really, really not worth it at all. So I encourage people, like, you know, if you've done that piece where, you know, you're buying Bitcoin, you're saving money for your future, you're taking self-custody, this is great. This is a great start, but you have to go further, in my opinion. And it's really fun to go further, right? So, you know, like the Bitcoin I teach, Bitcoin, if you want to be free, which is my whole thing, that's all I ever wanted. It's not a number, right? So yes, I lost a lot of money, but now I've realized, like, freedom isn't a number, it's a mindset, and it's a protocol and an approach to your life. And you should pursue it. And Bitcoin is just one of the tools that you can use to further your freedom. So, look, if you can't control your own money, you've got no chance, right? You have to start there. Go and get yourself some Bitcoin, learn how to take self-custody, learn how to keep it secure, and ideally teach your family members. So in case you get hit by a bus, all your money is not locked, you know, gone forever.
Right.
But then start looking into, like, cybersecurity, right? Like, how secure is your laptop? How secure is your home network? How secure is your data? You know, are you still using, like, Google Drive to store all of your data? Or could you look at, like, sovereign computing and becoming your own cloud? And there's so many rabbit holes you can go down. And the key for me is, like, just keep training, just keep adding new skills. And you'll notice, actually, that you become less reliant on these third parties and companies that really just want to fleece you. You know, and you can go all the way. You get a privacy phone set up. You know, you don't have to use Apple and Google. You can use Graphene OS, and then you can keep going all the way to go and get, you know, Plan B residencies. That's another thing that I think's exciting about Bitcoin, which is, you know, your money is borderless. So what happens if you become a bit more borderless, and you can, you know, your money can go anywhere that you go? So I think people are still in this mindset where, okay, like, getting a second passport and this sort of thing sounds like I have to be Jeff Bezos and have a mega yacht to consider this.
Right.
But the reality is it's more achievable than you think. You know, yeah, if you want to just buy a passport today, then yeah, maybe you have to buy a £500,000 house in whatever country or whatever. But getting like second residencies and going on that path is actually it's more accessible than people realize.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you. Listen. I'll tell you one thing. The reason I was so early to Bitcoin is because I'm a conspiracy theorist and I wear a tinfoil hat, right? Now,
that gave me a push years ago, but that kind of helped give me a little momentum towards keeping my eyes open. Yeah, totally.
and this, and you know, people will look at me and I say, look, I think it's a really good idea to have a backup plan in case your country goes absolutely crazy. And again, they look at me like I'm a lunatic, got my tinfoil hat on. But I don't know, man. Like, have you seen what's going on?
It's all turned true, right? Though some of the wildest stuff I was just kind of be suspicious of years ago, and then here we are, and it's like it's exactly what happened. Wow. But instead of being black pilled about it, Bitcoin reframed everything about the solution, the various solutions involved in the escape from all that. So instead of feeling stuck and down and just like, can't vote harder, I'm just, I don't know. Yeah, you can do stuff tangibly in your life. When I first, it's step by step by step, like, you know, like working with MicroSeed here, and we're just like, we don't care how you do it, but you know, you get off zero, you take self custody, you run a node. There are little, and however you want to do that, it's like, well, like we don't prescribe exactly how you do it, but the Bitcoin way knows the best, you know, path to take to keep it as simple as you can, the best way you can. But we say, okay, however you do that, there's so many little steps, and without getting too overwhelmed about all of it, it's kind of like, what's your next little step? And then kind of what's your next little step? And you keep going, and then you find yourself sitting much better. Several years ago, when I first started looking at Plan B stuff, and it was at a Bitcoin conference, and there was a company there that was offering options. And I went and checked it out, but it was all like, you know, getting residency at like St. Kitts or something like that. And that kind of money involved, like, oh my gosh, that's way beyond, like, I'm not there. I can't do that. I was talking to Birdflip and with the Bitcoin Way, and he was the Bitcoin Way is there are good accessible options out there for people like Panama. Panama is a real destination that I know Tony and others have focused on. And it starts to become accessible, like you mentioned. And then I can start thinking like, oh, yeah, maybe I could get that direction as at least things in place to have that personal agency and be able to pivot if, you know, down the road, or just do a vacation and check it out. And not be suddenly caught by surprise going, uh-oh, now I got to figure it out. Oh, I don't really have anything set up at all. And is it too late? So prepping for that. And as CSO, you're thinking a lot more about these things now, aren't you? Like the whole thing.
Yeah, you know, it's like I say, it's a journey. And I think as well, people sometimes frame like a plan B as like an insurance product, or like you're running away from something. But I think the longer I've spent in Bitcoin, I realize, no, you know, freedom isn't free. You have to chase it and you have to pursue it. And it's not about necessarily running away from something bad. It's running towards something like really amazing. You know, like these trips, the last trip they went on to Panama, now they took 50 Bitcoiners all together. And there's like this huge growing community together where, hey, listen, we know what it's like being a Bitcoiner, right? You're constantly lonely, surrounded by normies everywhere, right? Yeah. And they talk about politics, and you're there like, oh God, I got to keep my mouth shut. Or my wife's like, don't, Rick, don't. Right?
People are complaining about stuff in the world, and you're just kind of sitting on your hands going like, oh, I could go in on a monologue right now, but I'm going to just, I'm just going to shut up.
This is it. And so they go on these trips to Panama, and it's yes, they get these, they increase their options in terms of where they can live, where they're allowed to stay, where they can start a business, and all this sort of stuff, which is fantastic. But I think they get so much more from that, like all the people that they're meeting, the community they're building, and they're all working together and sharing opportunities together. It's quite an amazing thing to see, actually. And you know what? You'd be amazed how many are making it their plan A. They're like, hang on a minute, you know, I get treated better here. I get taxed better here. My property rights are better respected. My freedoms. I have free speech here. I mean, there's another argument whether we have that in the we don't have it in the UK, and it's
we can talk
being
about
eroded as in the US. Like, there's certainly some questions there. So people are thinking, well, hang on. I mean, look, I don't want to go too deep down this rabbit hole, but like, empires don't last forever, right? So who knows how the world will be reshaped, but having a few options might be smart.
Yeah, totally. And through your work with the Bitcoin Way and with your story, I mean, so many more people from all that have properly taken self-custody and protected themselves now, and done it right, done it better at least. And so there's been so much better outcome for the world, for the Bitcoin community generally, by seeing living examples and real stories about what has happened to people. I've seen it everywhere. Like you mentioned, even just like kind of like people online, they're sharing their push-up challenge and they're in it together. There are groups that are like a stacking challenge and they're encouraging each other and it's supportive. They need that community. You're not alone. You're staying humble and you're stacking. That's kind of a core thing. You take self-custody and stack, and then just keep building. And but they'll post things that are like, it seems really modest, like, oh, hey, I just bought another, $100 of it, or $10 of it. It seems innocuous and just humble now, like, good job, proud of you. But like you said, it's kind of, to me, I'm happy for them. And I cringe a little bit, and I don't troll them, I don't comment, but I'll just, in my head, I'm thinking, in 5-10 years, I did tell one person that I had a connection with, but I just said, the more you do this, the more, even as I'm a Bitcoiner, like, people know, oh, Fritz is a Bitcoiner, Fritz is into Bitcoin. That kind of makes you not a target, but people are aware. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I'm doxxed, and yes, I'm into Bitcoin. What of it? I take security measures. But when people throw out there, I'm buying more, it just puts you out there like, people know what you should probably have, or that might mean something more later. And I just, like, I encourage people to, with their OPSEC, like, you can be a public Bitcoiner, cool, but you don't need to post your bank account statements. So anyway, but you've done so much for the space with the Bitcoin Way. Putting this up on screen here, I just tell people, if no matter what level you're at, you may be new and sorting out basics, you may be well along the path and have your methods, and just want to check that and make sure, because it means more over time. Here you are in the Bitcoin Way. You can get, you can book a consultation, so you can call them, a free first session just to get started, and it's not a hard sell, but it gets you thinking and sorting out kind of, for you, your tailored experience, kind of where you're at and what maybe you could be doing next, or the handful of things next. And so by going to the bitcoinway.com, great way to get started. And the whole team is solidly based, and an amazing group that just has carved out a very clear path to do it just right. So we totally support the Bitcoin Way. We refer people as much as we can, that you might feel like you got everything together and you don't know what you don't know. And, or maybe there's something random that you just want to polish up. But yeah, no matter what level you're at, contact the Bitcoin Way and you can get going correctly. So your work with the Bitcoin Way has evolved. After the hack, given your speech, Tony and others, many people reached out to you, but they connected with you in terms of not just the hack and the story, but bringing you in because you had your own skills, and then contributing to the Bitcoin Way and helping others. CMO and doing the marketing, social media, online presence, and all that work. Wrapped up the lottery project, which we'll talk about, the provably fair Bitcoin lotteries, working on that. And you've been able to close a loop on that effort that started in a way in El Salvador with your hack, and now has come to, given birth to that. And now, as CSO, your journey has evolved with the Bitcoin way. To describe to the extent you want to, kind of how that role is now with the Bitcoin way, what that looks like now, and kind of where that's going. It's very encompassing, covers a lot of things.
Yeah. So I mean, like, one thing I think that I realized when I got hacked is, you know, I'm a marketeer by trade, really. That would be my main sort of skill. And inside of that, I would say my main skill is actually storytelling, right? Like, I'm a good storyteller.
Yeah.
And man, listen, I took one look at this and I was like, look, something really savage and tragic has happened to me, but it's one hell of a story. Like, it's almost unbelievable story. So I just leaned into it, started telling my story, and it kind of, you know, hey, listen, I'll make no bones about it. Yeah, I was trying to, I had a story, I had some attention. I was going to leverage the hell out of that to see if I could open up any opportunities off the back of it. So, you know, I spoke to Tony and said, hey, man, listen, I think I'm the best case study you're ever going to find for self-custody. Maybe we can do something. And, you know, Tony and the boys, they don't know me from Adam at this point. They don't know anything about me. So we started off gentle, you know, started writing their newsletter for them, you know, helping them out with a few things, and then gave the talk in Prague, and they said, hey, look, you know, let's do something more serious. And that's where the CMO thing started. Yeah. And then, man, yeah, what a great business. Like, these guys, I love working with them. You know, again, the difference between working with Bitcoiners and people in the fiat world is like night and day. The pace is 3 times the pace, and the passion is there, and people aren't just showing up for a paycheck. They actually, you know, they love what they do, and it gives you so much energy. Yeah. And we did some great work. You know, we took the YouTube channel. I think when we started off, we had 400 or 500 subscribers. Now I think they're up to about 10K. You know, we've now got tens of thousands of subscribers on our newsletter. Twitter's grown pretty nicely. Like, we set a fire underneath it. You know, it was really, and so much fun as well. You know, I mean, just doing Bitcoin
I love
stuff.
Your newsletter. Yeah.
Oh, you do?
I subscribe. I love it when it comes in. It's got a lot of a good mix of what's happening now in the news. Events come up. There can be all this distraction and things that like suck your attention. And the newsletter helps you zoom out and have some perspective with it, along with solid based information, individual stories of like one of the more recent ones, you know, in an individual's story about signing up and getting their consultation and what that felt like, what that looked like, what it meant to them. And so like going to your website here, there's the Plan B residency stuff, and down, and you can, I know it's at the bottom of your website here. You can put in your email here, join the newsletter, subscribe to that. It's a great newsletter. So anyway, but yeah, you've built that up very nicely.
Yeah, and so, you know, we did it, and everyone in the team is so passionate and works so hard. So it's been really fun, like, connecting and building a community around the business, and that's worked real nice. And then, yeah, like you said, I took this weird kind of, like I said, man, it's been a crazy 3 years, but I'll do this short again because it's quite a long story. But basically, when me and my dad, when we found out we got hacked, we were in El Salvador, right? And we'd been to the conference, we'd seen all these amazing talks, and we went back to our Airbnb to work on this. We were building a provably fair Bitcoin lottery that runs on the Lightning Network.
Yes.
And so, you know, we're all pumped up. We've seen all these amazing talks. We get back to our Airbnb, and we say, look, let's continue building this thing. And so we had to go and move some Bitcoin into our Lightning wallets and start moving things around. And long story short, that's where the news hit that, yeah, we'd been wiped out. So yeah, almost 2 years later, I took a brief sabbatical away from the Bitcoin way, still writing the newsletter and running socials and stuff, but took a brief step back to go and finish that project with my dad. So yeah, we went, it's crazy. So basically, I'll give you the really short version of how it works. But
yeah,
if you imagine a traditional lottery, right? We've all played the lottery probably. You have a big ball machine, right? And the ball machine goes round and round. And the whole purpose of the ball machine is that it gives you a random number. And that random number is how we randomly select a winner so that you know things aren't rigged and it was all fair. The problem is, well, first of all, if you do look into the history of lotteries, there have been many examples where someone has fiddled with the balls and changed their weights, or fiddled with the machine. And let's not forget, you're watching this on TV, right? So are you watching a live recording? Is this pre-recorded? I mean, with AI these days, my point is, you have to trust the lottery operator that this draw was completely fair, but there's no way for you to prove it. And the same is true of online lotteries, right? So they'll often use things called RNGs, like a random number generator. The problem with an RNG is, it may produce a random number, but there's no way for you as the player to verify that. You can't take that random number and prove that it was produced randomly. So again, there is an element of trust here. So, I mean, many moons ago, me and my dad realized, we said, well, hang on a minute. If I want to select a winner from a raffle or a prize draw or a lottery or any sort of game of this nature, why wouldn't I use the hash of a future Bitcoin block as my random number, right? Because nobody can predict the hash of a future block. Otherwise, Bitcoin couldn't work the way that it works. But crucially, once that block has landed and you know the hash, everybody else can verify that that number is legitimate. So we said, well, hang on a minute. We'll just use, and the beautiful thing about this is we don't need to actually, building on Bitcoin's a bit controversial at the moment, but all we were really doing is saying Bitcoin's a really good random number generator, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's provable, verifiable. Let's just use that to pick a number. We don't need to really interact with the chain. We just use the numbers that it produces. And we built this all on the Lightning Network. So basically the way it works is if you want to buy a ticket for a raffle or a lottery, then you come along, you buy a ticket, you give us an on-chain payout address if you win. And there you are. That's you entered into the lottery, right? Mm-hmm. And then we produce all the results. So everything is verifiable. We at the end produced a list of all the entries. You can go and check them. You can scan our Lightning node to verify that we haven't stuffed any entries. I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically you can take all of this data. You can take the winning block that we use to choose the winner. And a lot like Bitcoin, you can verify completely 100% that the correct winner was chosen. And that also, when they entered, they gave us an on-chain payout address. So we can share the transaction ID of that on-chain address. So you also know that they got paid. And we also, when we did it, we ran one in Bulgaria and we raised money. So by the way, me and my dad don't make any money off of this. We just do it for the sheer fun of it. So we raised some money in Bulgaria for their Bitcoin Circular Economy Initiative, a group of guys that go and orange pill businesses. And then we did another one recently in November in Manchester for the Free Speech Union in the UK. Man, that one was a riot. Like, I don't know why these people, they keep giving me a microphone and letting me on stage. Which is
You've been around,
business.
Yeah. You're good at it. You're very good at it.
I had pictures. You'd have loved this one, man. I had pictures of Jeffrey Epstein on the slides, like basically called all of our politicians degenerates, and say, look, now they're trying to cancel your speech. So we raised money for the Free Speech Union, and in a fun little twist, the winner also won my car.
Yeah, so, tell me about that. You lost your car, or you gave away your car. Tell me about that.
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm quite a spontaneous guy. I like to have fun. Like, I like to tell jokes, and it really tickled me, the idea that the way it worked was half of the prize pot in Bitcoin would go to the winner, and half of the prize pot would go to the Free Speech Union. But I wanted to make it like a bit more spicy, so I said, well, hang on. It'd be really funny is if the winner also wins my car. And wherever the winner is, if they're in mainland Europe or the UK, like, I will deliver the car to them. It's your car, all this. Now, before anyone thinks like, wow, this is an amazing prize, what was so funny about it is this car is a 2010 Ford Fiesta with like 125,000 miles on the clock. It's maybe worth $400 or $500. And we called it like the Plebmobile, right? Like, win the Plebmobile. And I put license plates on it with the number plate was GFY, and just did all this like fun, silly stuff.
That's funny.
And man, just having a great time with it. So, and then what we're going to do is, you mentioned I go to Helsinki in September, I think is Helsinki. And we're going to run my plan is, and hopefully we can pull it off, but we're going to try and run a samurai prize draw over
Oh,
at
nice.
BTC Hell. Because I don't know about you, man, I'm quite disappointed that, you know, there's only 15,000 odd signatures on the petition to free Samurai. You know, I mean, listen, that really frustrates me. The Samurai devs really helped me out during my hack, trying to help me track all my coins, and just feel we have a responsibility to stand up for these people. So if we can raise some money for the Samurai devs family, or, you know, towards whatever they need some funds for, you know, these guys they're stuck in jail for the next 4 years.
Yep.
Right. And I know everyone cares about, are we going to 200K? What price is Bitcoin going to be? How much money, how much Bitcoin will Michael Saylor buy? You know, all of this, you know, financial amazing engineering of Strike and all this other crap that everyone gets excited about. It's about freedom. And you know, we owe these people a lot. Like, people don't realize the Samurai devs, they introduced a lot of features into wallets that are they're awesome features that we still use today and you see adopted in other wallets. I mean, to be honest, not enough of them. There are still things that make Samurai wallet better than a lot of the wallets available today.
Yeah.
Man, we're either going to win this together or we're not going to win. So I feel like I just want to make some noise, do something a bit crazy. Don't know how much we can raise. Anything helps. And I love we love the lottery project because it also says, hey, listen, Bitcoin is money. You can buy a lottery ticket with it. Like, there are no fiat rails. There's no fiat. There's no KYC. It just runs on the Lightning Network and nothing else.
Yeah.
You can't enter with a strategy stock. You can't enter if you bought a BlackRock ETF. You do actually need Lightning. And that's why Bitcoin is money. You can do cool stuff with it. Stop buying IOUs and all this nonsense. I mean, listen, I'll get off my high horse, right? Because I have strong opinions there. But totally. Yeah, that's the lottery. And now CSO at the Bitcoin way. Now I've got a bit more time back. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. And when it comes to lotteries, I mean, lotteries are promoted and advertised as, you know, oftentimes, oh, it funds schools and it funds parks and it helps public services and it's fun play, you know, but there are, I mean, one, trusting the mechanism of how it works. I mean, okay, many of them can be honest and ethical. Sure. Others are not. You mentioned Epstein in 2008, Epstein, one of Epstein's organizations, Zorro, what was it? Zorro Trust. They won the Powerball in 2008. And it's kind of like, it makes you stop and think about connections and who knows who. And here we have a guy like Epstein winning Powerball. And it wasn't just like, oh, you know, people play, people get lucky. It was like $85 million. And so that makes you stop and think. And even the current lotteries that are managed and run well, there are middlemen, VCs, companies that run and own these companies that broker that. They're making their money in the middle. They're making money off of this, sifting off the top. Even like, say, like you mentioned, I think before, El Salvador wants to have their own lottery for the good of the people with the right ethics and everything about it. But they've got to utilize, ostensibly, as we understand it, perhaps they got to utilize a company out of Canada to manage it and broker it, and then like have their service fees, or who knows. And you're trusting them. Maybe they're great, but they could use your fair Bitcoin lottery mechanism and cut out all the middlemen, just do it themselves. And it can be direct, like those who put in on a ledger, and it can be provable, and then final settlement, automatic, and everybody knows what just happened, and it was completely random. So it's a good way to do it.
Well, I mean, we got really excited about this idea because, like, you know, all lotteries are a bit different, but in the UK, the national lotteries, they need dedicated point of sale machines in every little convenience store. Right. You fill out the numbers on a piece of paper. I mean, the way they run in lotteries, a ball machine, and someone picks the balls out. And by the way, the CEOs of these companies are getting paid like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, to pick a ball out of a machine. Yeah. This is nonsense, right?
And don't lose your ticket. If you bought a ticket, like, don't lose that ticket, you know, and there's stories about that. So
that's it, you know, and like you say, there's loads of problems. So yeah, And there are big companies that run this lottery, build and run and sell this lottery software. So yeah, you're right. El Salvador has a lottery, but I think it's run either, I've tracked a few of these. I think it's maybe an Israeli company, or I think it used to be a Canadian company that would run it. But either way, this is not sovereign, right? You're using a company in a different country to run your lottery, and there is value extraction happening here. So, for example, I believe it's Alwyn Media who own and operate the lottery in the UK. That business operates at 46% EBITDA. So they're making good money. So how much, when you go and buy a ticket and you think you're supporting a school or a church or a hospital, whatever it is, it's a black hole. You have no idea where the money is going. Right. You have no idea what's coming out. But a Bitcoin lottery makes it completely sort of transparent. So, hey, listen, I'm not trying to sell this, make money off this. Like if Nayib Bukele wants the code, you can have the code. And here's the cool thing, right? All of these lotteries are tracked in their own jurisdictions. Imagine Nayib Bukele at the moment, his lottery is for El Salvadorians. So he raises money from them, and then he maybe builds a bridge or whatever it is that he's doing. What if he ran a Bitcoin lottery and now people from all over the world and even wealthier nations can play? Now he's raising money for his schools and this. So first mover advantage, first one to launch a Bitcoin lottery wins. Give me a call. You can have it for free because I'm just trying to I want to get everyone on a Bitcoin standard. Yeah.
It's totally awesome. I just, from a presentation you've given, you stepped through how it works and from the technical side, and you've presented this very well. It's at one sense, the concept is straightforward. And like you could say, okay, like I get it. Yeah, technology can do lotteries, but the ethos and ethics and the tech use behind it is quite novel. It's kind of like, oh, nobody's doing that before. Like, oh, I can see how that works. And your ethics about it, about sharing it, putting in the work to close that loop, working with your dad, finishing that. It's a generous builder, Bitcoiner. So it's a gift to people to to share this, not just the concept, but the tech, and to put it out there and then prove it out. I love everything about it. Like I don't gamble myself or really play the lotteries, but then it comes to something like this, and it's like, oh, people do play lotteries for various reasons, and this is, if you're going to do that, that's the best way to do it. Plus, there is an orange pilling component to it, where people who they're not going to up and go save or invest or figure out Bitcoin immediately, but they do manage money, think of money the way they use it, and they do play the lottery. And this can be an on-ramp in a way to do it the right way, do it the best way. It takes Bitcoin, use Lightning, and then it's like, puts them on a step like, oh, I got to do this and that. Oh, that was easy. Oh, that just worked. Next thing you know, they're thinking about Bitcoin in terms of money and how it can work. And it can open up that door for people as well.
Yeah, man. Like if someone says to you, oh man, you know what? I don't want to buy any Bitcoin. It's too expensive. I'll say, listen, just download an app. I'll send you $5. Buy yourself a Bitcoin lottery ticket. And that might be tempting enough to do it if the prize is big. Now, what I've sneaky done is I've used their desire to make money to A, get them to download a Bitcoin wallet, B, receive their first transaction, C, set up an on-chain and a Lightning wallet, and D, send their first transaction. I'm calling that a win in terms of potential onboarding. And again, the model is not for us to extract value. You can cut this up any way you want. You could say 99% goes to charity, 1% goes to the winner. You could even, there's so many things you could add to this. You could say, let people vote on where their portion of the charity money goes, and it goes to 5 different places. But the difference is it's transparent. And actually, lotteries, like way back hundreds of years ago, lotteries would be used to fund ambitious projects, right? We're going to go and explore the seas or go and discover a new country or whatever. So I kind of get excited about this idea of we have this thing that we can point at things. Like there's a problem. All right, shoot a Bitcoin lottery at it and fix it. Everyone says Bitcoin fixes this. Like maybe we could use this to fix things. Look, I'm a bit of a dreamer, and this isn't like something there's a lot of legality issues around a lottery, which means I'm not going to be pursuing this and trying to make it into whatever, because either I'll go to jail or I need 10 million VC money. But the concept's there, it works, it exists, and we're going to use it at various events and stuff just to raise money for good causes and have some fun. But yeah, big credit to my dad, by the way. He's the graybeard coder who's, you know, built this thing, and it's fully scalable. He can run 1,000 Bitcoin Lightning lotteries like this, like overnight. Talented guy. I'm just the mouthpiece, you know.
Your dad sounds awesome. I love it. And people be like, hey, you might feel a little late, you might win some Bitcoin. And all the time, like at work, it'll be like, oh, my daughter's sports team is trying to raise money to go on a trip or do a thing. We're having a raffle, or hey, we're selling donuts. And you know, with your concept, it could be something that like a small entity could use the technology, and just for like a small little call it a raffle, or, you know, a lottery, and the prize can be what it may be. But you're it can open up the doors. It doesn't have to be donuts or fiat. You know, it could be a little Bitcoin lottery. So very applicable all over.
Communities and just people raising money for their local communities. You know, like, this is what's so good about all this kind of software, is like, just do as you please, right? It's all open source. I mean, there's lots of people who'll be watching this, by the way, who think I could build that lottery out. It's not the craziest, most difficult piece of software in the world. Like, fine, go build one, run one. Like, you stop waiting for permission anymore. You know, you can just do things.
Yeah, you totally can. You do a lot of public speaking, like you said, and you're good at it. The Prague one was particularly hard because of the emotional story and kind of the first real big one. And there you are in your kilt and really being vulnerable, which it's courageous and was awesome. But public speaking to you, you've said it doesn't rattle you as much as, you know, it's one of the biggest public fears people have. Every person fears public speaking, but you don't mind it so much. It's kind of incorporated into your abilities and skill set. Do you not get too nervous?
Man, I was absolutely bricking it before the Prague one, because like, yeah, that was a weird, you know, I was about to like share all these stupid mistakes I'd made. It's the first time I'd been hanging out with Bitcoiners since the news broke. And look, I'm not gonna lie, you know, you've been in Bitcoin a long time. Like, people think you're an idiot. Like, Rick, how the hell were you storing 25 Bitcoins like that? Are you crazy? And I was aware of that. But public speaking in general, everyone asks, you know, like, how does it not make you nervous? And I think the answer to that is simply that I just approach it. You know, when you're at your most engaging is when you're down the pub with your mates and you've got a story to tell, right? Imagine that. You've walked into the pub, 6 of your mates are sat there with pints, and you're going to tell them about the fish you caught or the golf game you just won. You never stumble and you never feel awkward, and you probably deliver that story with like epic timing, the jokes at just the right time. Now, you've not had to like learn a new skill or develop anything to be able to do that. So what is the difference then? Why can't people do that when they go on a stage? And it's largely like it is in your head. If you can somehow, and it's not easy, but if you can get into the same mindset, these are just people, just tell the story. You know, get out of your notes a little bit as well. Like, if this happened to you, or this is your story, you know it all already. And the more you try and like, it depends on the kind of talk you're doing, right? Some talks should be scripted, some maybe less so. And I do put a lot of work into crafting the story. But if I gave the same presentation 2 or 3 times, it would come out different every time, but would follow the same pattern. So yeah, it's just something I always enjoy. I mean, I like telling a lot of jokes. It gives me a lot of leeway to like tell stupid jokes on stage with a microphone. And yeah. But everyone gets nerves. Like, you always bricking it.
If you imagine the audience is just your buddies at the pub, and you're in the flow, and you kind of, you know, break away all the posturing and feeling around, I'm on stage and I don't know this giant audience and all the things. Yeah, you just kind of reframe it in your mind about who it is you're talking to. And if you just know, hey, these are Bitcoiners, these are friends, these are my buddies at the pub, tell it like you know it with prep.
And the audience, you know, one thing I'd say as well is the audience really wants you to succeed. Right, that's the truth. Have you ever been at a public, you know, you're watching someone on stage who maybe has got a bit flustered and like shut down, you know, and they get stuck? I guarantee you the overwhelming feeling of everyone in the audience is like, oh, please, please, you know, you'll be okay. Don't freak out, because they want you. They are on your side. So to try not to go in and think, oh, the audience is going to judge me. They're going to this. They're going to that. The more you think like that, the more you'll present as someone who should be judged. I tend to go out and just say something ridiculous or stupid as my first line, and then that immediately, like, well, you know, yeah. Anyway, that's my style. Everyone's different, but
the proper touch of self-deprecation. They relate to you, like, you know, you're a human like we are, and there's a connection. People want you to succeed, and the conferences. So I didn't realize Scotland had a conference. Be the Change Scotland. That's the main one, right? Or are there others? There's one in Manchester, I know.
So there was one in Edinburgh a while ago, but they only ever did one. That was quite a big one. But now, there's a guy called Peter who does the Glasgow conference, and that's always great. I love Peter, by the way, like really, really great guy. And he does the Glasgow conference, and that keeps getting bigger every year, which is nice. It's like nothing like Prague, right? Like total night and day, but it's building. The one in Manchester was awesome, by the way. Like Bitfest, for their first one ever, they had like a few days that was Nostr content, a few days which was Bitcoin content. Man, they had like live music after events, and like, you know what? I would say it was so high signal. That's what I loved about the Manchester one in particular, because how do I say this without like upsetting people? I don't really want to listen to the macro anymore. Like, I'm a bit bored of the macro piece, right? Like,
let alone somebody mentions treasury companies or something. You're just like, oh, I get it, but I don't need it.
Listen, you know, I'm maybe a toxic maximalist, whatever you want to call me, right? Like, I understand your money's locked up in your pension, you can't get access to it, then you want to go and look for something that's like related to Bitcoin. Fine, but I just don't find those conversations that interesting. Like, I'm really interested in the freedom tech side of what Bitcoin represents. So, you know, will you make 4 or 5x on shares you buy in MicroStrategy? I don't know. I'm not the guy to ask. I don't really have a massive opinion on it. Would I bet on Michael Saylor before other CEOs of other companies? Well, yeah, probably. He seems to be the only one who understands Bitcoin, right? Like, I'm not bashing these things. I'm not saying don't buy them necessarily, but like, if you're only here for that sort of number go up stuff, that becomes really tedious after a while. I mean, like, everybody and his dog was saying the words MNAV 6 months ago, and then you don't see it much anymore, right? Because the MNAV's not so good, right?
I know.
Man, there's one thing I could share, and I don't know all the answers. I'm only 80 IQ pleb like everyone else, but what I can tell you just from experience is, like, these hype and cycles, like, they come and they go, they come and they go. Is always the next thing, always the next thing. And it does get tedious, you know, like, there's only so many ways that you can say that Bitcoin is likely to go up and to the right. Yeah, I think it's going to go up in value. In what variation that is in, and trying to chart it out and all this is. But so that's why I love Manchester. It was like pure signal. There was none of that. Like, everyone was talking about like what they were building, what they were developing, and giving you skills. Because, well, you know what? I'll tell you why I feel so passionate about this is because that is the mistake that I made. I spent all my time listening to these influencers who actually, by the way, tend to know very little about what's going to happen, talking about, you know, when we're going to break all-time highs, what the macro picture is, you know, what the government's doing, all of this stuff. And I wasn't working on my skills. And that's why I got caught sleeping at the wheel with my Bitcoin custody not set up well enough. If you spend all your time just focused, and it is just entertainment, that's all it is, entertainment. Again, I'm trying to be so careful not to mention any names, because there's people that I genuinely want to call out that have like big followings, but they talk a lot, they say nothing, right? Like, influencers 8 months ago said if pretty soon they think the price is going to go vertical because the ETFs are going to stop any selling. Now we're 50% off all-time highs, and these people, they don't stop. They'll twist the story and change it. And I would just implore anybody, like, if you want to succeed in Bitcoin, turn that off and start working on your skills. Learn how to use another hardware wallet if you've already got one. Go and buy a different one for $100. Learn how that one works and what's the difference between the two. Or go and learn how to do a coin join, or go and work on your inheritance plan. Like, stack skills, because these people are just farming your attention and to make money, right?
Oh,
That's it.
When I think about what strategy is doing, and I mean, I find it fascinating and interesting, and I've learned what I can about it, knowing that like it's just not my game. And what are they using? I mean, like they're relying on Coinbase. In my mind, it's like what something like strategy and others are doing. It's almost like we're doing this amazing thing that's number go up technology. It's some sort of infinite money hack, and we have our keys on the cloud. And it's like, so like the counterparty risk there, just with the government approvals, and then how do you really own and get that or hold that, and are you relying on, I don't know, Coinbase or something else? It all of that just kind of smells to me, just personally. It is on ramps for some people, or ways to get exposure, or maybe they have a different approach to things, a different plan. I'm not going to judge it too harshly. It's just I hear so much of it, and then the more I hear about number go up or number go down, and people frame it and reframe it and are looking at like little zoomed in trends and the astrology for men about it all. And it's like, I feel like the more people talk about that stuff, the deeper in their brain is a little fiat monkey piece of them that are simply thinking about when they're going to cash out or sell, and to what, your fiat. It's all fiat framing. And ultimately it's like, okay, so you're a Bitcoin maxi, but you're just thinking fiat, 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 fiat. And we're here to crush the Federal Reserve. Don't you know that? So, I mean, there's a war on for our sovereignty versus just this control state. And we're seeing it collide here at a deep level in a lot of areas. The fundamentals are that you need to take care of your personal freedom and sovereignty and own what you own. It's the deepest property rights you can have. So yeah, all the treasury stuff, all the games and the ideas and the options and the exposure, to me, it's like, it's interesting because it's Bitcoin entangling itself into traditional finance stuff, and then eventually realigns stuff there too for the better. But it's still trying to like play a fiat game. And I don't like the fiat game. It's like, I can't vote harder in that direction. I've walked away. I'm done. I'm out. And we can get to this too, but things are coming to a head in a lot of ways. It's not even, well, I would boil it all down to fiat and the money. I think it's all fiat and the money. But what we see out there it's like, okay, we got war now. I've seen this movie before. Now we have, we popped Panama back in Noriega days, and then we went into Iraq. Now we popped Venezuela and all that, and now we're in Iran. And it's like, I have seen this movie so many times. The Tournament of Kings continues. It's a competitive resource capture game, and what's behind the scenes in the fog of war, I don't entirely know. But categorically, all of it, I want it to die. I want it to stop. I want to defund all of it. I want fiat to fail. So you're gonna what? Invest in treasury companies? No, to get your Bitcoin.
I mean, look, again, I like to say this to people. Like, I'm an 80 IQ pleb. I'm not claiming to be like some super smart guy, but sometimes I like to ask really basic questions to try and get to the heart of what we're doing here. So probably, arguably, Bitcoin's main value proposition is that it can't be debased, and that you can hold it yourself with zero counterparty risk, right? And that it is a superior form of money to dollars, right?
Yeah.
In the same way that, a laptop is a superior piece of technology to, say, a typewriter. Okay, so if we view Bitcoin versus the dollar as the typewriter versus the laptop, then I find it really illogical or kind of crazy that people still use the dollar as the denominator, right? They're trying to buy Bitcoin so that they can buy laptops, so that they can end up with more typewriters.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's a very, very basic analogy, but really that's what we're doing here. So when you buy treasury company stock, for example, and you can call it Bitcoin exposure all you want. This is what I say to people. You don't have any exposure to Bitcoin. I just do not accept that. That is, listen, I'm a marketing guy. This is some very clever marketing. It's a very nice angle. Respect to whoever came up with it, but there's some bullshit wrapped up in that, which is, do you really have Bitcoin exposure? Well, no, this is a fiat denominated product and your profits are measured in fiat. You can only cash out in fiat. You have no direct claim over any of the Bitcoin bought by the treasury company. You do not own Bitcoin. You just don't. You don't have Bitcoin exposure. You have exposure to a company that has bought Bitcoin. And that's an important, you are more steps removed from this Bitcoin than you think. And the counterparty risk, nobody talks about that, right? Like, let's say, I'm not saying it would happen, but if these big companies get hacked, like Coinbase is custodying most of this Bitcoin for people, right?
Yeah.
If they get hacked and we have an empty GOX, boom, you're done. You're absolutely cooked, right? And there's layers of counterparty risk here as well. And I think people vastly underestimate that.
Yeah, and actively, Coinbase is actively angling their lobbying efforts and pushing government energy into the whole spectrum of shit coinery that they do, or the stable coins, or they'll say, hey, we're pro Bitcoin, and we want the whole space to be a Ponzi scheme casino too. And it's just like, I don't like their ethics either. So,
hey, listen, am I going to let a guy who thinks it's perfectly fine to shill customers things like Fartcoin, am I going to trust him with any significant amount of money? No. Michael Saylor has chosen to trust him with a significant amount of money. Yeah. Again, listen, I'm a hardcore libertarian. Anyone listening who's like, oh, stop hating on treasury companies, please do whatever you want with your money. I don't care. You do whatever you want. I'm just explaining that, like, that you are introducing trust. And if you read the white paper and go back to it, this is a system that requires zero trusted third parties. That's where the value is. So, if you're trying to chase dollars, it's almost like a classic misunderstanding of what's going on here. It's not an investable asset. It's a better money. You don't invest in Bitcoin, you upgrade to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, let's say, I do believe this very strongly. I think everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. And what I would say to anyone listening is, I don't believe that these treasury company stocks are some magical exception to that rule. Now, I don't know when they trend to zero against Bitcoin. You might be very, very clever and make 3 times your money, and they pump harder than Bitcoin in the short term. But what I do know is I believe everything goes to zero against Bitcoin over time. So all I'm saying is I'm just not playing that game. I can see the value proposition. I can see the argument for why you would invest in these things. But ultimately, if everything goes to zero against Bitcoin, then the game is measured in Bitcoin. The scorecard now is measured in UTXOs. My advice would be, don't buy what he's selling, buy what he's buying. Right? Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm an idiot, so don't take my advice. Do what you will, but that's what I think.
Yeah. As an animal on their farm, I'd like to actually own a slice of the farm. Humble as that may be, we're getting farmed. It's the extractive state, the extractive state theory of money. We're getting farmed, and the laptop typewriter analogy. It's like with the laptop, we can have Bitcoin podcasts and all this stuff. The typewriter can only type out propaganda. Fiat floats their proof of war and all the overt and covert crime and all the games and all the fraud, waste, and abuse. And like, that is also fiat. And so it's like, hey, if I get 10 laptops, then I could later trade that out for 10 propaganda typewriters. And it's like, categorically, no. Your analogy is on point, and like, just keep the better, harder asset. Just start there, end there. Be a player. Don't be stuck as one of their NPCs. That it's like, well, will you let me take my Bitcoin out now? Well, yeah, maybe a little bit or so much. Or, well, no, it's got to be KYC, or all those rails are CBDC and all the things. And then, okay, yeah, you got some Bitcoin with the number go up or whatever, but the rails and everything, the sovereignty about it, your plan B, out the window. So, or at least fingers crossed, you have a a government counterparty who allows you, so yeah, it all stinks to me. So
it's scary, man. I mean, like it's funny. You look at NACA with David Bailey. I mean, man, listen, I don't know what else to tell people, but if you invest in something run by David Bailey, like you got it, you're gonna get what's coming to you. And the crazy thing is now, I don't know if you noticed this, probably not, because who cares about the UK? But a former
I do. In America, we do, because we see that as like where things, and in Europe, Australia. I was going to ask you about that, but we see things happening there. And in my head, you could say, oh, well, that's way over there, dumb for them. It matters because it can happen here, and we don't want it to happen anywhere. So, but anyway, go ahead.
But yeah, you see now, so we had a former chancellor called Kwasi Kwarteng, right? And he is now launching a Bitcoin treasury company. And the funny thing is that's now been endorsed by another politician called Nigel Farage, right? And I mean, listen, by the way, I have equal disdain for all of them, regardless of political parties. Anyone listening who loves any of these people, I'm not interested. But now we have Kwasi Kwarteng launching a treasury company, former chancellor, right? So, and he's getting endorsed by some politician. And I've got to say, like, I find it really sad and kind of lame and a little bit simpy, but I can't tell you how many members of the UK Bitcoin community are now all over Kwasi Kwarteng. Oh, well done, Kwasi. We love you, Kwasi. Blah, blah. Like anything.
He's a Bitcoiner.
Oh, and I'm like, listen, if you're going to go and give your money to a former chancellor, you're going to get David Bailey. You're going to get David Bailey. I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is crazy, guys. Like, you can just buy Bitcoin and not interact with these criminals, because they are criminals. If you want to, you swim with a shark, don't complain when you get bitten.
Yeah, there's a word for, at a certain level, if you're a politician and if you got there at all, I don't want to throw them all out with the bathwater, but at some level to get there and to play that game and to survive, I think you have to be a psychopath. I don't know. Or you went into it with certain incentives and values, but to stay there, I don't know how you avoid the corruption or don't start to see the game differently. And even as part of you wants to translate it all for the right stuff, and you get used to talking whatever needs to be said. But it's not just hating the player. It's like hating the game. And the players that just are good at that, I can never trust. I'm sorry. Maybe they have a change of heart. Yeah, maybe. But no, I just categorically, I feel like these people are psychopaths. And by their fruits, what you see in the world, I wanted to ask, and without being judgmental or harsh about it, because I think America is not immune from any of this. We're grappling with our own issues for sure. But you see stuff in, I don't know, Europe here and there, generally all over, certainly Britain, whether that's England, Scotland, Ireland, whatnot. Is it just cooked? Can they back this up? Is there a hope, or do you? I don't know. Sometimes I'm thinking, I don't know. I think maybe it turned a corner and some shit is just too late. I don't know.
Oh man. I mean, that's such a big question, isn't it? Because there's so many facets to this, right? It's I think we've had the same problem all over the world. A lot of this woke ideology and kind of, I would argue kind of drifting towards like a communist sort of mindset across a lot of the world. Yeah. And we all know how that story ends. I kind of feel like until we fix the money, like this is where I've reached with it. It's like, until we fix the money, I try not to get too distracted by all the other problems, because I feel like ultimately they all are downstream. So, for example, there's a guy, Rupert Lowe, now who's becoming very popular in the UK, campaigning as a politician. And look, he says a lot of things that I might agree with. I'm sure that'll upset some people, but but none of them from any political party from anywhere will address this underlying problem of the money is a scam. And until they do, I think you're just tinkering around the edges, right? Like some politicians might do slightly better than others. They might have certain policies that align with your values a bit more, and they might be able to maybe, maybe they can move some important things in the right direction. I'm not saying they're completely powerless, but until someone comes and really campaigns on a sound money standard, you're unlikely to get my interest. I just don't believe that they have any chance. And yeah, I mean, look, Keir Starmer's a total lunatic. I mean, he's locking people up for tweets. We've got completely open borders. You can't walk around London with a nice watch on. You shouldn't even get your phone out on the street in London because it'll be taken from you. I have no desire to spend any time in London. I view it as a dangerous place. If my wife were to go to London on her own, I would be concerned about that. I mean, Birmingham, cities like Birmingham, I spent some time there many years ago, but it's dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. The police force is completely inept. They're more likely to chap on my door to ask me why I haven't got a license for my chickens than they are to actually arrest a dangerous criminal. They're more likely to knock on my door about the tweets I've made that might be or might not be unsavory. You've probably all heard about the grooming gangs in the UK. I mean, it's horrendous stories of police officers shipping these girls between the places where they're being used and abused.
Yeah,
the rot is deep, and we do have. There's still a large part of our society that has this like suicidal empathy, I would call it, where we've got to look out for all of these refugees and illegal migrants. And listen, I'm a very human being, right? Like I really care deeply for people. I don't mean ill on anybody, but it's crazy to me that people who did come into the country illegally will be put in hotels. We've got war veterans on the streets, and like the priorities are crazy. And I have a lot of thoughts on this, but you start to get to places where it gets a bit touchy, right? And the risk of being cancelled. And I try and worry about the things I can control, because otherwise you go completely crazy. So I have views and opinions on these things, but I just try and do what I can do, right? Like the Bitcoin Way, awesome company. We're setting people free every day, taking them on this journey. I can have a positive impact there. Doom scrolling and commenting and getting involved in politics. I think it was Kant who said, man matures when he realizes politics can't solve his problems. And I think I'm kind of there, where I have no control over these lunatics. I mean, half of them are in the Epstein files. I mean, and all that grotesque stuff. Like, working with these people is not the answer. Working outside them, around them, building systems outside of their control, that's where the answer is. So it's the only place to spend your time.
Yeah, totally. I can only imagine it hits to your core when you do have some deep roots. Your tartan, your shield, your coat of arms, some family history, your kilt, and a sense of national origin. You have an origin story, and even with, and not to get political, just okay. So you're going to manage immigration, and there are people that come for the right reasons and are hard work. And I've had people on this podcast that have that story. A legitimate Scotland, someone from Scotland, a Scotland citizen whose story originates in Africa. And it's a great story. And he really identifies as a proud Scottish man. When the governance of it is okay with mass migration, but then total unregulated, weird mix of everything, but the welfare, the lack of law and order, and all the things, and just kind of like, well, just kind of deal with it, everybody. And then not only that, we're going to crack down on, free speech and all the things. Well, what is that exactly? Well, it's kind of, you'll find out. It's a moving target. You can't really know, but keep your head down, stay out of trouble, just get along, be nice, be a sheep. Oh my gosh, all of it collides together where it's got to just be crushing at certain level. How would you compare like London to, say, Glasgow or Edinburgh? Similar things, or just is it better in Scotland compared to England? Or
definitely better in Scotland. I think we have far fewer. Well, it depends. I mean, it's always the way. It's the big cities, right? So Glasgow now, I think, is like the rape capital of Europe. Don't quote me on that, but I think it might be as bad as that. Dundee, by the way, is the drugs capital of Europe. But that's a long-standing issue, by the way. Like, you'll have seen the film Trainspotting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So Scotland's had a drugs issue for a long time. I think it's the weather, right? It's so dark and cold here in the winter. Like, I don't know what it is. So no, there are problems. But then, I live in a little fishing village, right, in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, it's like living in Balamory, some little kids TV show. You know, the people around here, their biggest problem is like, oh, someone cut down my hedge, and you're not meant to do that till after the birds have nested, right? They live in a weird bubble. They don't even understand. But if you go into London, yeah, it's a total jungle. You go into Edinburgh's not so bad. Glasgow can be a bit rough. It's way worse. It's way worse down in England, I think. But it's sad to see. You know, we're proud of our culture, and I mean, you know, like Britain did a lot for the world at a certain point. And what I would say is, I think for a long time we've been beaten over the head to be embarrassed or ashamed of our culture. Right, like you know, these colonialists that went out across the world and stole everything and took everything, and I just don't see it that way, and I don't accept that. I mean, you know, every single train track in India was laid and established by the British, right? We genuinely made. I'm not saying we're perfect; that would be crazy. I mean, look at Rhodesia, and then look at what happened when it became Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
What can I you know, so I'm not buying into this. I mean, I saw a crazy news headline the other day, and it was something about like why hiking or camping in Scotland is like a racist thing. I can't remember the headline, but it was something
privileged recreator.
It's kind of saying like colored people wouldn't go out like camping and I'm like, yo, listen, I don't know where this comes from. Like, there isn't like a meeting of white people where we're like, don't let them in. It's like, you just put on shoes and go. Hey. There's not even a fence. Like, you have the right to roam in Scotland. It's crazy. But this
camping if you want to. Anyone can camp. If culturally you don't camp or you're not familiar with it, that's fine. You camp if you want.
And I think as well in the younger populations, I noticed this, like they've become immune to this now. We've been beaten over the head with it for so long. No one cares anymore. I mean, this guy, Rupert Lowe, for example, he comes out and he says things like, you can call me a racist. I just don't care anymore. It's meaningless at this point. Like, it's been used to an extent where, anyway, you know, we're dangerously close to politics here. But yeah, no, stuff is crazy in the UK. And unless we turn things around, we're in big trouble. Our energy infrastructure is cooked. We don't make anything in the UK. The financial centers used to be like how we'd make our money, but with the dawn of Bitcoin, you know, we're not going to hold on to that stuff. We're giving away islands. Our university and education systems are poor now. You know, they're not really worth anything anymore. So, yeah, we need to change course rapidly, I think.
Yeah. There's this sense of like, well, and people talk about the fourth turning, but there's like a feel of like there's not enough justice in the world, or and you know, a divide, a gap between the amount of control and the amount of need for control, all the things you could talk about there. But it's like this sense of a long arc of justice needs to reach across generations, where people today are living their lives with what they have and the opportunities are all accessible. But, you know, from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, pick your target. Things are unfair. Things are just unfair. And it's like, okay, you heard about that. You know, look at what's happening to people in Ireland. You know what the Irish have been through, right? And Irish who came to America, there have been many groups of people that have been subjugated in various ways. You know, Scotland itself, the clashes between England and Scotland itself. I mean, talk about, you know, hard times. But now to feel deprecated over even just more recent, like last couple of generations of privilege, it's like, oh, brother. Anyway, yeah, not to belabor all that, but now we have war to distract us for sure, and there's a broad thing going on. It just takes me back to, it's all about the money. I think it's scrambling to maintain position, power, control, and even relevancy as more and more people can see it for what it is, as it flagellates, and just like, what's the solution? And a lot of people are like, oh, there's no hope, there's no solution. Oh, just wait. You know, there's a door open to walk through, and Bitcoin just pries that right open in so many ways. So walk away, free your mind. So anyway, that's why we do this. So as we look at everything that's coming for you, and I don't want to miss anything that I didn't bring up, I'll throw to screen here. Let's see, you can find Rick on X here on X. He is at R Messitt on X. You can catch up with him. Oh yeah, the base department. I wanted to get to the base department.
I'm sure. Yeah. So
I found your website so entertaining and cool because I was like gonna learn more about it, maybe some certain particulars about it. It's obviously here, very based. You can submit your application for help, consultation, connection here. And as I was going through this, like I was gonna click on this button. I'm like, oh, I see what's going on here. And your provision of information to prospective customers is pretty streamlined right now. You can connect through the form. Your pricing is not following typical models. You have to know why you're here and what you're doing. It's very based. So what do you want to tell me about the base department?
Well, actually, I mean, it's not something that I'm actively promoting at the minute because I'm just so busy. So, I'm working like full time with the Bitcoin Way now as their chief strategy officer. Yeah. And this was like I have some other work as well. Like I do some work with some guys on a Nostr protocol that they're building and stuff. But genuinely, like I'm not chasing you. I don't have any time for any new projects, which is part of the problem. But I did enjoy building that website because what I wanted was to show someone that you can build a website in like 30 minutes, but actually give someone an emotional reaction to it, right? So when you went to try and book a call and it runs away from you, it makes you laugh. So what I've done is I've probably made a bigger impression on you with just one thing of a website than someone who has written tons of content, worried about every pixel. Like for me as a marketeer, like it's all about the story. It's about the message. And if you can build a website in 20 minutes that really gets your point across and makes people laugh, and people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. So we're trying to, bring that into people's ideology. Like that's how we try and grow businesses and stuff. Just love it, man. And if work's not fun, I'm not doing it, Yeah.
Good perspective on life generally. And don't sweat the petty stuff. I love the energy. I love what you're working on. So you can find Rick on X. Find him there. Great feed. What's happening here? Of course, there's the Bitcoin Way. He's working with the Bitcoin Way. One of the best clear path, compass oriented, directionally correct Bitcoin consultant group, and accessible, and whatever level you're at. Now, so there's the Scottish Bitcoin Conference. You've spoken there. There you are. Bitfest. This is the Manchester one, I think. Or this is Manchester Bitfest. Happening again this year, I assume. It'll be coming up later. Now you're going to be speaking in Helsinki then. Now that's later in the year, September, it looks like. So we're going to be seeing you at many places down the road as you present. Do you have a sense of what the topic will be for Helsinki?
Yeah, we're going to run another prize draw, raise money for the samurai guys. Nice. And I'm gonna make some pretty crazy videos to promote. Like one thing I would say is I'm going to reach out to lots of people for support on this. Again, we don't make any money out of it, but like I would love it if all the influencers and everyone involved in Bitcoin would like retweet the videos we make and play along and try and promote it, because every time we've run a raffle, it's got bigger than the last one. So I'd love to see if we can run one where it gets to like a big number and we actually raise some money for these guys. That would be really fun. We'll be at Prague with the Bitcoin Way as well.
Oh, so
that's gonna be a really good time. Tony will be on stage and he drops a killer talk. Same with Michael. Yeah. Michael will be there as well, and he's great at public speaking. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing year, man. Like we've got so much going on, I can't tell you. And everyone should expect a lot more out of the Bitcoin Way this year as well. We've got some crazy plans, some new initiatives we want to try. And things just keep getting better and better there. So like anyone who wants to get better at Bitcoin, give us a call, get in touch, right? Like we're all desperately becoming like sovereign individuals. We're chasing freedom. We're not going to try and tell you how to trade or anything. We're just going to give you skills. And listen, you can learn anything on the internet, right? But sometimes it pays to have a coach, right? Like I play golf a lot and I watch golf videos on how to improve your swing. But I get a lot better when I actually go and hire a golf coach and he gives me some tips. If I wanted to learn karate, I would go and find a sensei to teach me karate, right? I could watch loads of karate movies, but probably wouldn't get me too far. So if you just want to get good at this stuff and you want to get good at this stuff fast and you want to have a way to protect your money, your data, your privacy, and potentially go all the way to becoming like, you know, have second residencies, that's the fastest route. It really is. And we have guys in their 80s that have learned all this stuff. They're running nodes, doing air gap transactions. Like that's where your attention, your investment, your money should be. If you're chucking money into Bitcoin and not spending anything on sort of securing it, address that. And I'm speaking as someone who's had their Bitcoin wiped out, right? I'm not just, yes, I work for the Bitcoin way. I'm not just trying to pitch you. Believe me, you don't. If I could go back in time, I'd have paid Tony $1 million to look after the rest of my Bitcoin, right? So the point is, you can't buy insurance after the fact. You can't learn these skills after the fact. If you're going to invest a significant part of your future into Bitcoin, you have to invest in keeping it secure. So that would be my advice to anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your generational wealth worth to you? And you can go online and say, okay, I want to improve my golf swing. And so you go and you search and then you get like 100 ideas and then you're pick one, or, well, that looks like the best, or, well, that's got that influencer. And, you know, the Bitcoin way is the one that, you know, and you're not just trusting, you can verify it, but you can trust the Bitcoin way. They're based and they're not going to like, I mean, yeah, they're going to put it in perspective for you with education so that you know why you're doing stuff. And then you take self-custody and you know, manage your OPSEC and everything else, plan B. And when I think of, you know, chief strategist, you're looking at the multifaceted dimension of everything about being a sovereign individual, freedom, able to move or manage yourself as a human being on the entire planet. But like, instead of getting overwhelmed by it, what's your next step? Where are you at? And follow the path. The compass is aligned. So anyway, the Bitcoin way is doing great work. I love the work you've done, the story you've been through, the amazing pivots you've made. I love you for it. It's not just a great set of experiences, but what you continue to do now is amazing. And love you. Love the Bitcoin way. It's amazing. It's been a great talk. I really appreciate you joining me today. It's been a lot of fun, generous donation of your time for me.
No, likewise, Fitz. And by the way, because I love the MicroSeed, right? Like, I love hanging out with you guys. And I've got to say, like, as someone who wishes he had a better seed storage solution 3 years ago, I love the MicroSeed. That's a really quality piece of kit. You know, it's precision engineered and you can put your whole seed on a washer. For me, it's my personal favorite stamping kit. It's really good quality. I tell everyone about it. It's the nuts. You should get one of those, 100%.
I appreciate that. Now, as a marketing guy, I threw this thing together. You may have an opinion about it. See what you think of my little short thing here. I'm going to play it, and it's my little hook here. I'll play it. As a Bitcoiner, you know that taking self-custody is critically important. But if you've ever had a seed phrase, you've probably had it written down on something kind of like this. You can hide it or secure it, but paper burns, paper fades, paper gets wet, paper rots, paper blows in the wind. Paper has things written on it that might look important. So get off paper and get yourself a MicroSeed at microseed.io. Get the kit and crank out all the keys you'll ever need forever.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's really, really good. The only thing I would change is you need an actor that's slightly less good looking to make it more relatable for people, right?
You know, it's so funny when you when you put yourself out there, like, well, for me, just have, when you have the courage to get up on stage or click record, and you have so much like imposter syndrome of like, who am I? I'm really nobody. I mean, the sound of my own voice can make me, I hear it differently than others do, or how I look, or do I look tired, and my background, all the things. It's just like, it's easiest to be hard on yourself. So even just making that little short video of things, part of me is like, I'm not an actor. I'm not really good at this. I can't hardly read and think at the same time. And then, oh, I'm not looking at the camera. And all these things go through your mind. And then it's like, you know what? The only way you can get better is just by doing it. So you just do it.
And honestly, Fritz, if life's taught me anything, it's that nobody actually cares what you're doing. Everyone thinks that everyone's looking at them, but the reality is everyone is so worried about what everyone thinks of them that they don't have time to worry about what they think of you.
Yeah.
Which is like a superpower. You just do whatever you want. Like no one's watching, no one's caring, no one's, and if they do, then they should spend their time better. So I love that advert, partly because you're having fun and it's fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun. It should be engaging. It's perfect, man. I love it.
Yeah. That was my goal, was to, short, moving, funny, fun and funny, engaging. And like, yeah, anyway, so there's MicroSeed there. We've talked, Daniel and you and I, and we've talked strategy about self-custody and MicroSeed and with the Bitcoin way. But as things grow, I guess not to belabor this, but so we've been grinding through number go down or sideways for a while now. And so you see people like, oh, where's the bottom? And all these kind of like, oh, it's hard, or like the patience, the time preference, all the things you manage. With your perspective, you might kind of say, this is such a great blessing, long time opportunity to be stacking cheap. And as you're stacking, it's time to hone your craft. You're not like, oh, I'm falling behind, I can't keep up, I'll never get my whatever. The opportunity is here now. And if you had some and you feel like, okay, I took some loss, well, loss in what? Fiat. This is a time to lean in, hone your craft, stack, learn the skills, take self-custody. And so you may have noticed, I don't know, but like in business generally, macro stuff, whatever, it impacts business in a way. It's harder to FOMO when it's like, oh, how the Bitcoin's doing? I don't know. It's volatile. It's risky. I don't know. It changes the nature of your approach to like marketing or promotion, or what incentivizes people to understand it. It's been a time too where at a business level, you're kind of, it's not as easy in some ways, but we keep building, we keep trucking and honing our craft. And when we all come out of this as well, when things become more apparent and make sense, more obviously to a lot of people, I think there's going to be, the rising tide is just going to, like, we're going to benefit from having put in the hard work through and through, up, down, up, down, up, down, and up. And so you have that perspective of number went down, but it's time to lean in, hone your craft. And then on the other side, we're going to be positioned so well, I think, when it's like obvious. So,
oh man, truly a gift from God. I mean, I was here since it was like $50 or whatever, right? Where it says 70, whatever it is now, right? And what I would add, I tell you what, here's some perspective for people. The Bitcoin price, I got hacked November 2023. So not even 3 years out, right? Until like just over 2 years, 2.5 years, let's call it, since I got hacked. The price when I got hacked was $23,000, right? The price today is still 300% higher than then. So anyone who's upset about that, please cry me a river, right? Are you joking me?
Yeah.
Listen, if you're feeling like, oh, the world is ending because it's down from 120 to 70, listen, like, well, I really struggle to have a bit of compassion, right? Like, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's not that bad. And this, for me, this dip is a gift from God. I hope it goes lower. I doubt I'll be so lucky, but you better believe there's people like me everywhere that are like, holy shit, if you're going to sell it, I'm going to buy it, but I'm never, ever going to sell it back to you. So, you know, do with that what you will. But yeah.
Little perspective, like, just what, 3 years? And if I'd like 3 years ago or so, if I'd have heard that Bitcoin was going to crash to like 60,000 or even 50,000, it'd be like, really?
Right. Yeah.
I should have bought more. So same math, folks. The rules have not changed. So anyway, I know it's amazing to have that perspective. You've got it. Anyway, love what you're doing. Enjoy the family, the baby, the new next chapter, turning into chapter, I'll call it chapter 3 of your life and with the Bitcoin way. It's awesome to see. Love seeing it. Thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Fritz. Good fun. Good fun.
Yeah. Everybody else, we'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye.